Welcome back to the channel. Over the last few months of 2025, markets have felt brutal. AI leaders have cooled off, Bitcoin has wobbled, and even strong emerging markets like India have been under pressure. The common reason behind all of this, liquidity was drying up. But something very big has just changed. The Federal Reserve has quietly flipped the switch. The liquidity squeeze that crushed risk assets is ending, and a very powerful new phase is beginning. In this video, I'll explain what the Fed just did, why it matters so much for your money, why we may see a giant melt-up in early 2026, and then a potential crash later in the year. And most importantly, I'll walk you through a practical, step-by-step game plan you can use as a DIY investor. Let's start with what actually happened. On 1st December 2025, the US Federal Reserve officially ended its quantitative tightening program, also known as QT. Then, on 10th December, they cut interest rates by 25 basis points. Most people think the rate cut is the big news. It isn't. The real story is hidden in a boring, technical phrase they used. They announced they would begin technical buying of treasury bills for reserve management. That sounds harmless. It sounds like a small, technical adjustment. In reality, it is a major shift. When the Fed buys treasury bills, it creates new money to pay for them. This expands the Fed's balance sheet. In other words, this is quantitative easing. This is money printing. They just don't want to call it QE. Why does this matter? Because if you look at history, whenever the Fed's balance sheet, often shown as a red line on charts, goes up, risk assets usually rally. Stocks, Bitcoin, and emerging markets tend to do very well when that red line is climbing. And when that red line shrinks, markets struggle. So in simple terms, QT is out. Hidden QE is back. The money printer has quietly turned on again. And that changes everything for 2026. To really understand the opportunity and the risk, you need to understand how liquidity moves markets. Think of the Fed's balance sheet, that red line, as a master liquidity gauge. When the red line goes up during QE, the Fed prints money. It buys bonds from the market. Fresh cash flows into the financial system. There is more money chasing the same number of assets. Historically, that environment is bullish for US stocks like the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, global equities, including markets like India's Nifty, and high-beta assets like Bitcoin and tech stocks. On the other hand, when the red line goes down during QT, the Fed lets bonds mature or sells them. Cash is drained from the system. Liquidity gets tight. Volatility increases, and asset prices often fall or at least become very choppy. Now add one more layer, the government. When the US government issues a lot of new bonds to fund its deficit, it is also sucking cash out of the market. Investors use their money to buy those bonds, and that money is no longer available to chase stocks or crypto. The most dangerous situation is what I call the double whammy. The double whammy is when the Fed is doing QT, pulling money out, and at the same time, the government is selling huge amounts of new bonds, also pulling money out. That's when liquidity really vanishes. There is simply not enough cash in the system. And that is when stocks and other risk assets can get crushed. We saw this combination play out before. And that brings us to the 2019 playbook. Let's rewind to 2019. Back then, the Fed was also doing QT, shrinking its balance sheet. At the same time, the US government raised the debt ceiling and issued a massive amount of new bonds. Both the Fed and the government were draining liquidity together. The result was a sudden and severe shortage of cash in the repo market, the short-term lending market banks used to lend to each other overnight. The plumbing of the financial system broke. Rates in that market spiked violently in a single day. Banks and funds literally ran out of overnight cash. The Fed had no choice. Within 24 hours, it panicked, reversed course, and started printing money again. QT was abandoned. QE returned. From that point, stocks rallied hard all the way up until COVID hit in early 2020. Now fast forward to late 2025. We saw a very similar setup. The Fed had been doing QT since 2022. From July to September 2025, the US government sold a huge amount of bonds. Then, there was a record 43-day US government shutdown in October and November 2025. All of this together created a severe liquidity squeeze, very similar to the one that led to the 2019 repo crisis. The key difference this time is that the Fed seems to have learned its lesson. Instead of waiting for something to outright break, like the repo market blowing up again, they moved first. In December 2025, they ended QT, cut rates, and quietly restarted QE under a new technical label. In other words, they tried to fix the plumbing before it exploded. That is why this pivot is so important. It isn't just about a small rate cut. It's about a major shift from draining liquidity to injecting it. And that shift sets up the roadmap for 2026. So what does all of this mean for your portfolio? Let's break it into two phases, the melt-up phase and the crash phase. Phase 1, the melt-up, first half of 2026. As the Fed expands its balance sheet again, we should expect liquidity to flood back into the system. Newly created money doesn't just sit still. It looks for returns. It chases assets. Historically, when QE resumes, you tend to see strong rallies in major equity indices like the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Renewed strength in emerging markets, including India's Nifty. Risk-on sentiment in Bitcoin and other high beta plays. The expectation here is that the first half of 2026 could see a powerful, possibly even parabolic, move upward in risk assets, what we call melt-up. Prices rise faster than fundamentals. People start to believe in a new golden era. It feels like the market can only go one way, up. But that is only phase 1. Phase 2, the crash, second half of 2026. The problem is that this melt-up is not built on real, sustainable economic strength. It is built on a flood of central bank liquidity. The underlying macro data suggests that the US economy is still heading towards a recession, likely in the second half of 2026, roughly around the time of Diwali 2026. When recession reality starts to show up in earnings, in employment, and in default rates, the story changes. The market shifts from "the Fed is saving us" to "the economy is shrinking." At that point, the sugar rush from liquidity ends. Markets that went too high, too fast, become very vulnerable. That is when a significant correction, or even a sharp crash, becomes likely. So the roadmap looks like this. Early 2026, ride a liquidity-driven melt-up. Late 2026, prepare for and potentially face a major downturn. Knowing this roadmap is useful. But it's not enough. You still need a concrete plan. Let's now talk about how you can position yourself practically. In a normal, slow and steady growth environment, a simple strategy like buy and hold for the long term or a basic SIP, a systematic investment plan, can work very well. But the environment we are talking about for 2026 is not normal. It is a highly cyclical environment driven by central bank liquidity, massive government borrowing, and a looming recession. If you simply buy aggressively into the melt-up and then hold through the entire cycle without any risk control, there is a real chance that you could see big profits in the first half of 2026. And then give back most or all of those gains in the crash that may follow in the second half. This doesn't mean you need to day trade. But it does mean that a more rules-based, flexible approach can be far more effective than blind buy and hold. You want to increase your exposure when liquidity is strong and trends are up, and reduce your exposure when liquidity tightens and recession risk is high. Now let's translate that into a simple 3-step plan you can actually follow as a DIY investor. Think of this as your 2026 battle plan. Melt up now. Crash later. What do? We'll break it into 3 steps. Step 1, early 2026, ride the liquidity, but tactically. During the melt-up phase, when the Fed is expanding its balance sheet and liquidity is improving, risk-on assets usually outperform. In practical terms, that often means small cap and mid cap equity funds, technology and high growth themes, and broader equity indices in markets like India and the US. If you have been sitting heavily in cash or very conservative debt funds because late 2025 felt too risky, this early 2026 window is likely the time to deploy more into equities. But here's the key mindset shift. Do not treat these positions as permanent, long-term holdings. Treat them as tactical. You are renting these trades. You are not marrying them. Write this down if you need to. I will ride the liquidity wave, but I will not fall in love with these positions. I am willing to sell when the macro signals change. That mindset will save you from getting trapped later. The question everyone asks is, how do I make sure I have cash to buy the dip when the crash comes? The answer is not simply to save more from your salary. The smarter answer is dynamic rebalancing. Here's how it works. As the melter progresses, your equity holdings will likely rise a lot faster than your debt or cash holdings. Your portfolio will become more and more equity heavy. Instead of just watching the number go up, you systematically book some profits. For example, suppose your overall portfolio is up around 20% during the melter. At that point, you intentionally sell a portion of your winners. You take that profit and move it into very safe parking spaces, like liquid funds or arbitrage funds. What you're doing is locking in some of the gains from the melt-up, gradually reducing your risk exposure, and building a dedicated pool of crash cash. By the time we move into the second half of 2026, the danger zone for recession and crash risk, you want to be in a position where your equity percentage has been trimmed down from its peak, and you are sitting on a meaningful amount of safe cash and liquid assets, ready to deploy when markets fall. You are not trying to sell the exact top. You are just being systematic about de-risking and building ammunition. The final step is not about numbers. It's about psychology and safety. First, understand the FOMO trap. During a melt-up, it feels like everyone else is getting rich. Social media is full of to-the-moon charts. People who were bearish suddenly become extremely bullish. This is exactly when many retail investors throw caution aside and go all in, often very close to the top. You need a rule to protect yourself from that. Decide in advance, I will ride the uptrend as long as liquidity is strong and the Fed is printing. But I will start reducing risk when recession signals or tightening signs appear, even if it feels like I might miss the last bit of the rally. Second, protect your real life. Before you even think about playing this 2026 cycle, make sure you have an emergency fund, ideally at least 6 months of living expenses, parked safely in a bank fixed deposit or a very safe savings instrument. Do not touch this money for stocks, for crypto, or for any risk-on trade. If the predicted 2026 recession hits your job or business, you do not want to be forced to sell your portfolio at the bottom just to pay your bills. Your emergency fund buys you time and emotional freedom. It lets you think clearly, so you can actually use the crash as an opportunity instead of a disaster. Let's put everything together in a simple, 3-line roadmap. Now into early 2026, overweight equities. Ride the Fed's renewed liquidity. Focus on risk-on segments like small caps, mid caps, and growth sectors, but stay tactical, not emotional. Mid 2026, rebalance and build crash cash. As your portfolio rises, book some profits. Move gains into liquid or arbitrage funds. Gradually reduce risk and increase your safe cash pile. Late 2026, expect volatility and potential recession. When markets finally crack and everyone is fearful, you'll have crash cash ready to deploy into quality assets at much cheaper prices. Let's put everything together in a simple, 3-line roadmap. Now into early 2026, overweight equities. Ride the Fed's renewed liquidity. Focus on risk-on segments like small caps, mid caps, and growth sectors, but stay tactical, not emotional. Mid 2026, rebalance and build crash cash. As your portfolio rises, book some profits. Move gains into liquid or arbitrage funds. Gradually reduce risk and increase your safe cash pile. Late 2026, expect volatility and potential recession. When markets finally crack and everyone is fearful, you'll have crash cash ready to deploy into quality assets at much cheaper prices. Remember, this is a macro roadmap, not personalized financial advice. You still need to adapt it to your own risk tolerance, time horizon, and income stability. But if the 2025 Fed pivot truly marks the end of the liquidity squeeze and the beginning of a new QE phase, then the next 12 to 18 months could be one of the most important windows of your investing life. Use it wisely. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to save this video, share it with a friend who invests, and subscribe so you don't miss future updates as this melt up and potential crash unfold. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.